lot of Donald Trump's rhetoric invites high emotion and strong views, and that may present a challenge for the Secret Service.
Anybody who's comparing him to Hitler, anybody who's saying he's going to end democracy, it's happening all the time on all your networks. You're ginning these people up, and the death threats are going to continue to happen as long as you're being dishonest.
Do you think?
Well, it's heated. So something a bit different in tonight's Common Ground segment. We're going to talk about how we all, maybe, could get along despite our political differences, or at least talk about it. Joining us is Tim Shriver, founder and CEO of Unite. His group analyzes political rhetoric on both sides, has something called a Dignity Index. Tim, great to see you.
Thank you for having me.
You wrote this in a blog post, A Time to Choose. There's no shared view on how to watch politicians who say they're for unity or hold them accountable for keeping their promise. That might be why Americans don't believe Harris or Trump on this issue. We hear them call for unity, but we don't trust them. Both candidates have said the same thing. The one who really means it and acts on it will win. Tell me about what this process is, what this group is, and why you started it.
Well, we started it in large measure, Brett, because a lot of us believe that the country isn't as bad as it's made out to be, that our politics, that our media, that the algorithms are making us treat each other with a kind of a dehumanizing contempt. And that's not who we really are. My conviction, after 35 years in the Special Olympics movement, watching people give of themselves so generously, is that that's not true. That's not America. We're not people. We're people who live more by the golden rule than live by dehumanizing contempt. But the story we're telling each other is one that's so full of vitriol and this language of hatred that it's pulling us apart. We're not actually torn apart by differences. We're torn apart by contempt. So we set about judging it, because in politics, as you know, people respond to what they get evaluated on. So we built an index to actually judge people on the amount of dignity or contempt in their
So
language.
you have a panel.
We have a national panel.
And it's a Dignity Index. And we'll put up how you score this, kind of level 1 through level 8. Explain that.
So level 1 up to 4 is on what we'd call the contempt side. A 1 is you're not human. As you go up the scale, you are maybe just evil, or maybe you're just bad, or maybe I'm just better than you. That's sort of the higher levels of contempt, if I can put it that way. As you get into dignity, it's like equal time. Actually, I want to learn from you.
This is 4 through or 5 through 8.
5 through 8. So by the time you get to a 6, I want to explore where we agree. A 7, I'm not just interested in where we agree, I'm interested in where we disagree. And by the time you get to an 8, it's like, no matter what, I'm going to treat you with dignity.
So as you looked at the debate, your panel looked at the debate, what did you come out of that with?
The big conclusion is that neither candidate opted for dignity in a big way. Now, when we scored the actual speech of the candidates, we found both sides using what we would call 3 or even 2 level contempt. A 3 is I'm better than you, and you start to get dangerous down at 2. When you hear the language of you're dangerous, you're disgusting, that comes down between a 3 and a 2. Our panel, Republicans and Democrats, scored both candidates on these moments of speech at pretty much at the same level.
We have a lot of people that tune into these Common Grounds. They want to hear what Republicans and Democrats are working on together. They want to hear this, but then there are others that say this is pie in the sky as you head towards November 5th, and it's only going to get tougher, worse. How do you counter that?
I think, look, from a political calculus, swing voters are undecided voters, right? That's the definition of a swing voter. He or she, at this moment, hasn't decided yet. Those voters are fed up, sick, and disgusted by contempt. They've checked out of the political process because they don't like contempt. If you want to appeal to swing voters, I would dare say, swing in the direction of dignity and you win.
How can people check this out?
Go to dignityindex.us and challenge your political party. This is one of the things we want to say to folks is, look.
Either party.
Either party. If you see contempt on your side, tell politicians you agree with their principles and their policies, but you're not going to write a check when they appeal to you is dehumanizing other Americans.
I can see people watching this. They know who you are. You come from a very famous political family, the Kennedy family, which obviously has a member who has chosen to endorse Donald Trump. Is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. going to be invited to Thanksgiving dinner?
He will be at my house, yeah. We don't, look, the reality is that this dehumanizing contempt is tearing our country apart. It's not a victimless crime. It's not funny. It's no longer acceptable as a political tactic. It's a ruse used by, in the age-old sense, to pull us apart. It's not principle. In my family, we've been pulled apart by political contempt. I never thought I would be able to say that. But I know me and most members of my family want my cousin Bobby at the Thanksgiving table. We want him at our birthday parties. He's been a generous and extraordinary friend to me and to my own family. So you got to fight against this.
And do you think a lot of families around the country are going through this?
What we hear, the estimates are about 100 million Americans have broken off a relationship in their own family. And I think the despair people feel, the loneliness and distrust young people feel. I mean, I say to politicians, you want to win the election, great. But do you really want to alienate a generation of young Americans? Do you really want to create a political system that doesn't work? Are you really willing to pay the cost of dividing and tearing our families and our communities apart? That's not a price worth paying just to win a seat in Congress or a seat anywhere for that matter. I think we all have to look at, you're in journalism and the news business, we all have a role to play here. Contempt isn't a Republican problem, it's not a Democratic problem, it's an American problem. We got the problem, we got to solve it.
Tim, we really appreciate it, and it fits in with this brand of common ground. So thanks so much.
I know it does, and I appreciate you bringing me on. I hope this network would create a Dignity desk. Maybe someone could report every week on here, not me, but someone could report every week on how we're doing as a country. It would be a great way to remind your viewers that there's a higher calling.
We'll work on it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
You can see all the Common Ground segments on my podcast, Common Ground. Find that in the All-Star Panel podcast under the Bret Baier podcast at foxnewspodcast.com, Spotify, or wherever you download podcasts. You can also see the whole discussion on the Fox News YouTube page.